Good morning, YouTubians. Hope everybody's doing well. We're gonna get right back into this thing. This thing's been kind of a problem child for me, or maybe I've been more the problem. I don't know. This has kind of turned into more of a how not to than a how-to video. We're back at it with the McCulloch again today. So I've been fiddling around with the carburetor on this thing, and I should have just conceded a while back and just got right into seals. It's acting so much like it's got an air leak, it's not even funny. I pulled on this saw last weekend for probably 3 hours, and I got it to run for about 15 seconds, and it will not idle and will not tune. So what does that tell you? Pretty good possibility. So I'm going to pop the clutch and flywheel off and at least look at the seals from the outside. Hopefully it will be obvious they need to be replaced, but regardless, they're getting replaced today, and we'll give it another shot. The first thing I'm going to want to do is get this muffler exposed and removed. That way I can get a piece of rope in there and stop that piston from moving, so I can remove both the clutch and the flywheel. It's interesting, these Macs, from what I've seen, I wouldn't have expected to see Torx fasteners on this guy, but I'm looking right at it, so we'll see how easy this is to get apart. Again, this is my first time working on a Mac of any kind, so it's pretty cool. I know there's a lot of people out there that are real big fans. So far, I'm not. That's just because I'm used to what I'm used to, right? We all get comfortable, but part of learning and part of the fun of this whole deal is getting out of your comfort zone, getting into something new. So if you have the opportunity to do that, I highly recommend it. I've already learned a lot from this saw. I've showed you guys a lot of what not to do, some real dumb stuff that I'm sure we've all done, but I still can't believe I had that switch off. I probably cranked on this thing for 30 minutes trying to get spark, scratching my head, standing around, farting around, pull on it a little bit more. If you can't laugh at yourself, right? I'm thinking something that helps a lot, especially if you're getting into a saw you've never gotten into before. If you can get on the internet and look at an IPL, I don't even remember what that stands for, but I know that it's a kind of an exploded drawing showing all the parts and how they fit in with each other. You can get a good idea about the layout of the saw, so you know kind of how to get to things. These Macs are an interesting design the way they're put together. They sure are a lot more of a pain to deal with than a good old Husky, or at this point I'd say even a Still. For me, the easiest thing to work on so far have been Huskies. So that's just me, and that's what I started on, so it's a matter of comfort, right? Yeah, those all look forward the same. And for this saw, because there are so many fasteners and there's so many different fasteners, I'm going to try to replace them in the holes that they came out of. Okay, well, that looks easy enough. 2 bolts. Try to put them back in the holes they came out of. That way I know where they go and they don't get bumped off the bench. Now, anybody who's done much saw work, you know what it's like to get a case of the drops. That's my life. I live a case of the drops. So it's going to take me a little bit more time, but hopefully we aren't going to lose nothing today. Started off with a fresh, clean tabletop surface. That goes a long ways to help a guy too. I'm always very careful. I believe I'm in magnesium right now. Kind of one trick that I do that probably most people know about. When I go to put a fastener back or put a fastener in, I'll reverse thread it until I feel that thread click, so that I know that thread has jumped to where it's supposed to go before I go to tighten it. And then I'm very ginger about how I put it. I'm not going to be able to do that See, I get busy jabbering at you guys and I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing here. Definitely can't have those in. It looks like those are part of what holds the muffler in. See if I can find the appropriate size socket here. A little bigger than that. Too big. Well, as you can tell, I am not one of those guys. Everybody's worked with that guy who can look at something and be like, yep, that's a 9/16. And he'll call it just by looking. That ain't me. I gotta try every socket in the dang toolbox before I find the right one. That's all right. Yeah, in case you're wondering why I'm not reading these sockets to know which one's bigger than the next, I got a real hard time seeing these. So most of what I do is all by feel. Okay, that one's out. Nothing else is holding that one on. And I see no gasket, interestingly enough. So going back to what I was talking about before and having a case that drops. Okay, our muffler and bolts together here. Okay. Ooh. Yeah, there's a bunch of carbon that dumped in there when I did that, so. And there is a crusty gasket on there, it looks like. While this piston, let me see if you guys can see this. See all that carbon that dumped in there? I'm going to do my best to get rid of all of that before I even move that piston. That is a wee tiny little exhaust port in there. Forgive the air compressor. And then another fun game I play with myself is losing tools along the way. So I had a little bit. There we go. Before I got into this, I did drain my fuel tank after several times. There might be a few people out there that know what I'm talking about here. You learn to make sure that you drain your fuel tank or at least depressurize it. Otherwise, when you go to pull these fuel lines off, you get a face full of fuel. Now, if you're into that kind of thing, by all means, go for it. But it stings a little bit. Oh, we're still getting fuel. Yay. Go ahead and crack the... Yeah, evidently she still built a little bit of pressure. I didn't get to drink any of it today though, so maybe my daily nutrition hasn't quite yet been met. Okay, I should be able to just pull this on out and through. And now we've got that housing and tank assembly off. Set it off to the side here. And I think if I'm going to keep along with the theme here, I think I'd like to put them screws back in where they go. This way I can be sure we're not losing stuff. I think I could hide my own Easter eggs, so I like to put stuff back. That way I know where she goes. And because as many of us I'm sure can identify with, I'll get halfway through a project like this and the phone's going to ring and I'm going to get pulled off to do something else. And considering that I barely remember what I ate for breakfast, this makes it a lot easier to know where my fasteners go. Less to remember is always good for me. It actually looks like we might have some blow-by going on. That brown underneath those rings, I think, tells me that I need new rings, doesn't it? Yeah, I think so. I don't know. What do you think? I know the proper way is to measure ring gap, so I just haven't got that far yet. Alright guys, I'm going to kind of show you what I'm seeing here. Looking through the exhaust port, I'm seeing some brown on the intake side of my rings, which it's not terrible, but I think that that's showing me there's some blow-by. I'm going to shut up and let you listen. It sounds like you can hear some air moving through there. It should start compressing as soon as those rings come up past that port. And I can, it's strange. I could hang this saw by the cord when I first got it. And now it's got some compression, but I can roll this over by hand fairly easy. We'll get this thing all the way apart and see what it looks like in there. So I like my socket set. I'm using my dad's shop. You can actually move in here. So that helps. I like having an organized socket set like this for me. With my vision being what it is, I don't read my sockets. I can if I put on my heavy magnifiers. I just feel things out. So if one's too big or too small, I just kind of go on to the next one and until it feels right and then go for it. We're going to go ahead and remove this clutch. That was almost a good first guess. I don't like the way any of these are fitting. Yep, I like that. Okay. I need me piece of rope, and remember that these are reverse thread on the clutches. Find me a piece of rope here. You guys can see this. Yep. All right, so I'm going to spin this over until I know I'm gonna have to spin this to the right. So I want to spin my rotating assembly and see that I've closed my exhaust port. I'm just gonna take me some rope or some, I think this is mule tape or something like that, just nylon webbing of sorts, shove it down in there to act as a piston stop so that I've got something to push against when I go to take the clutch off here. It's going to be the same drill for the flywheel. I'll make sure I get some in there. All right, let's see if I've got it stopped. And it is good and stopped. Okay, find me the right socket for my clutch. Golden. And this is a righty loosey. So we'll see how tough this is going to be to deal with here. And there she is. Broke free. Okay. Now, as I take this apart, being that I'm not familiar with this saw, I'm going to want to be very careful about... Ooh, interesting. I'm going to need a puller for this. Maybe. Yeah. Oh. Okay, so that's threaded on, and I'm going to need a tool. I don't think that I have that kind of tool. So I'm going to get creative here and do some things that you're probably not supposed to. This thing up here. You know, sometimes you need to get the bigger hammer. It's not the preferred way to do it, but you do the best you can with what you got, right? So all I did was just found me a way to get this in there and gave her a couple tappy tappers. Huh, okay. I lied. That is a tapered shaft. Well, in typical blind guy fashion, sometimes you just feel your way through this stuff. She's off of there anyway. Clutch actually still looks in pretty good shape. No grooves in the bell that I can see. Yeah, not bad. Keep all that together. And keep our clutch bell bearing along with the clutch. And there's a washer. Keep that together with the clutch assembly. And this whole plate comes right on off. Now, I'm going to go blow this off and see what I can see, if anything. Okay. I'm not sure if I'm seeing anything super troubling looking at that seal at this point. I don't think. Looks okay. I'll know more when I pull the case apart. Now it's time for the good old flywheel. We'll see how much of a pain this is going to be to get off now, because this is going to be a lefty loosey. Yeah, I know I should really get this handlebar out of my way. It's eventually going to have to come off, but and of course that's going to be a bigger sum. Okay. Let's see what I dropped this time. She's on there. You know, if I got this handlebar out of my way, you use gravity a little bit to help you out. Okay. Now comes what I think is going to be the fun part. Getting these flywheels off can sometimes be a real joy. And I think what I'm going to do, in an effort to save my flywheel here, or to save my crank end, I've got a socket. It's actually worked out pretty good. It's on the, it's sitting here on the nut. Now, I'm not gonna go wailing on this thing. I'm gonna give it a good healthy tap and see if I can loosen this flywheel up. She come? Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe that. I've never had one come that easy for me. Outstanding. Can't complain about that. Okay, slow down. Make sure that I'm not missing any washers or anything unexpected. And there she comes. And the key is machined into the crank on this, and it has not sheared and doesn't show any, you know, being marred up or anything like that. No washers on this. So I'm going to keep the flywheel and flywheel nut together. Set him off to the side. I'm going to clean up around this seal and see if I see anything obviously wrong. These seals, so far, I don't think are showing me anything terrible. I'm not seeing anything obviously wrong with that seal. But we're this deep, so we're going to replace them. Well, I guess it's going to work just like that. This is how it's going to work. All right. Well, by accident, I figured it out, so I'll take it. Okay, what do I have under here? I want to be real careful. Okay, I've got one little bolt holding up. Is there a gasket? That's interesting. Okay, there's my gasket. Okay, handlebar goes off to the side. I'm going to put this piece with the carburetor, and I'm going to kick the camera over. What does our gasket look like here? Well, it looks like a gasket, and it looks like it should still seal once I clean it up. So we'll do that. Put that over in the carburetor assembly pile. Now we're getting somewhere. Alrighty. Now, looks like I have one bolt, two bolts. This is getting a little bit long, but I still wanted you to see everything I did here. I'm still learning this saw, so I'm just double checking, making sure that I'm not missing fasteners. The next video is going to be the rest of this teardown and checking out the internals. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment or shoot me an email, sagebrushhillbilly@gmail.com, all one word. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you.